Hello and welcome back to the Pakistani Women in STEM podcast. I'm your host Abeer, and today we have Miss Najwa Jawahar with us. Najwa grew up in Pakistan and then moved to London, where she pursued her A levels and higher education from the University of Leeds in civil and structural engineering. She's currently an associate director in WSP, one of the top leading firms in the UK. And not only is she an accomplished professional, she has actively been working to increase representation of Muslim women in engineering, but also became a voice that has inspired so many others to follow in her footsteps. She's had multiple interviews and awards, and I'm so glad that we finally get her time today. We'll be moving through today's podcast in three segments, starting from her journey in STEM, career pivots, and then the lessons that she's learned that have helped her not only survive, but thrive in the professional sphere as a career woman. Najwa, I'm so happy to have you here.
It's such a pleasure, and thank you so much for such an amazing introduction. I'm inspired myself.
I was looking through your interviews and it's just like amazing how much you've done. And I love your childhood story. So maybe let's start with there. So, how did
Yeah.
you get into STEM and structural engineering? I know that you describe it as the bones of a building.
I definitely describe it as a bones of a building, and I still feel that it's a backbone. So imagine a skeleton, and without the skeleton, you can't have the skin or the organs or anything stand up, and that's what makes it very exciting for me. But funny enough, I actually didn't know that I wanted to be a structural engineer when I was growing up. I always loved maths and physics, and it just made sense to me. Like it was a language that was like touching my heart from
Yeah.
childhood. But I never knew what it's going to turn into. And then I sat down with my physics teacher when I was doing my A levels, and he gave me a very long list of careers, and all of them were engineering.
Yeah.
And I did give him a difficult time because I was like, why do you think I'm going to be an engineer? Because I had a perception myself, like
Yeah.
engineers are going to be wearing hard hats, being on like male, pale male with a lot of books around them.
Yeah.
So I shattered that when I got into the engineering myself because I realized how different it is compared to what
Mhm.
we're used to of seeing. It's not muddy boots. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, it does get muddy when you go to site once in a while, but
Yeah.
that's it, and that's what is okay, and that's the reality of it. Because what I really like about engineering is to be able to point at a building and say, I have designed it and that's mine.
Yeah.
Like
That's
you're
so
leaving a
cool.
legacy.
Yeah, like walking through a city, I designed that and that, like wow. And
And
before, yeah, I just
good.
wanted to ask, you said that you were always interested in like maths and physics. So where did that start? Because from the start, I tell this to a lot of my guests that I hated maths and physics for like forever. So where did you de develop that passion? Was it like parents or teachers in
It's
Pakistan or?
it's my mom. My
Oh
mom
wow.
is a she's done a master's in mathematics and statistics.
Ah,
So I just got it from her because she spent a lot of time in when
yeah.
we were young to teach us, and it just
Mm,
comes in. It's in my blood, let's say that. So it just makes
yeah.
sense. It's like
Yeah.
it just comes easy. Like when I try and I always say that if you give me a mathematical problem to solve, I can easily do that. If you give me a book to read, I'll put it on my face and go to sleep. I can't.
Yeah. But like it's unique that you like maths because of your mom, because sometimes kids start hating what their parents love. So I'm wondering what kind of dynamics you had to kind of promote that love for maths, or what she did exactly.
She treated it as a game, so it was like a puzzle you have to solve. Like
Mm.
I've been through my whole engineering degree, and I can tell you, I don't remember who came up with which formula or who invented what, but I know how to
Yeah.
solve it because for me,
Mm.
it's like if this is where it starts, where is it supposed to end? And I just automatically get to that.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. So that got you started with your interest in physics. And then you mentioned your A levels teacher, and I believe this was in UK, right?
Yes.
So what set you up to have such a caring teacher who kind of designed this, list of degrees for you? Because I feel like in early ages, that guidance from teachers and that attention is like critical. So I'm pretty sure you definitely got lucky
Yes,
to.
I have definitely been lucky because what's happened is in UK, not a lot of people do maths and physics as subjects. So when I went to the school, when I chose my subjects, I mean, I chose them because, I mean, let's take a step back. I
Yeah.
did my master's, sorry, I did my metric in Pakistan. And then
Mhm.
after that, I moved to UK. So the only subjects I could recognize was maths, chemistry, physics, and Urdu. That's it.
Mm.
So I chose those subjects. I couldn't choose anything else, which means I was doing all the sciences that no one wants to do. And in my physics class, it was four of us in total, which means we
Really?
literally had
Yeah.
one-to-one attention with the teacher. So
Yeah.
been very lucky in that sense. So
Mm.
he paid a lot of attention to every single concept we were trying to learn. It made it easy to explain based on how all of us, like all four of us. Like
Yeah.
if I wanted to understand motion in a different way, he explained it to me in a different way compared to the person who was sitting next to me, which means
Mm.
it just made a lot of sense. And then he was vested into making sure that we choose a field which is
Yeah.
going to be taking us forward. And that's why he spent time.
Yeah.
Imagine this 16-year-old girl saying, I don't know what do I want to do with my life? I'm doing better good in my subject, but I don't know what do I want to do.
Yeah.
So he made sure that I had those options. And
Mm.
I still remember I actually used to enjoy nuclear subjects,
Mm.
nuclear physics. Um, but then there was a lot happening in the world at that time, and I had to put a practical lens to it, and I was like, structural it is,
Yeah.
And I actually had he when he gave me the list of subjects, the reason I went with the structural was because I couldn't reject it, not because I loved it,
Mm.
but because I was like I didn't have any excuses to say I hate it.
Yeah.
Um, and I gave very stupid reasons. So for electrical, I was like, I don't want to be electrocuted. It has nothing to do with electrocution, by the way. But
Okay.
I was like, no.
Yeah.
Mechanical, I don't like grease. I'm not gonna do that. So it was very, very stupid reasons.
Yeah.
I didn't have a reason against structures.
Mm. Okay. So you couldn't come up with a reason to hate it, and
Yeah,
so that's where you went.
yeah.
Yeah.
I,
Sometimes,
I I call it my process of elimination because every brain is
yeah,
different. So maybe mine works with the process of elimination rather than saying, what do I love?
yeah. No, that's brilliant because I mean, when I was choosing my field, a lot of people are like, choose what you're passionate about, but I'm like, so I came from a failing background to now, trying to actually find what I enjoy, and so I didn't know what I was passionate about, so I definitely did, do the method of elimination too.
Sounds, yeah, it works. It works.
Yeah.
When I speak to students, I'm like, if you don't know what do you love or what do you want to do for the rest of your life, you definitely know what you don't want to do for the rest of your life.
Yeah, yeah. And I was having this conversation with a friend, and we were trying to help her figure out what she wants to do. And I said that what you want to do shouldn't be, sh doesn't have to be something you're really passionate about. It just has to be something you can tolerate at its lowest points too. So I feel
I
like,
agree.
yeah, yeah,
I agree. And also, you don't have to do the same thing for your entire career. I mean, I have
mm,
changed my direction. So I'm not doing structural engineering anymore because I've
yeah,
moved into design management because I wanted to grow a lot more. I wanted to learn about what everyone else does. So that
mm,
took me on a like slightly different trajectory. I'm still in the same industry, still in the property
yeah,
and buildings,
yeah.
but doing slightly different to what I was doing before. I'm more in a leadership role now.
Mm. So for structural engineering, you stayed and did that for quite a lot of years, I assume.
Yes.
So
So
for,
I did it for
yeah,
about 11 years before I moved into design
okay.
management.
Okay. So, and that shift, we'll talk about it in a little bit, but, and it's easy to pick stuff, but it's harder to stay. Like a lot of students just like pick biotech or mechanical engineering on a whim, and when they started, they don't really like it. So, what made you stay in structural?
Because I loved what I was doing. Because then
Hmm.
by then I found that purpose. So when
Hmm.
I went to uni, first 2 years, I studied. I mean, I was getting good grades, which is all fine because everyone else was as well. But then I did
Hmm.
a summer placement at to learn to design. And that's when it clicked with me because it wasn't the engineering as a total, because I have realized I can't do research. I can't sit at one place and do the same thing for too long. I don't
Yeah.
have the capacity for that, but I can look at the buildings and make sense out of it. And when I started playing with those numbers, I combined my two, like drawing, which was building everything. I was building a 3D model of the a roof arena roof, and then I was looking at numbers. It was two things I was very excited about, and it
Mm-hmm.
made sense. So when I back to uni, I chose for the next 2 years, I chose design as my modules.
Mm. Okay. So that probably was like a trailer to what you're gonna do in the future too.
Yes, it told me, it made me feel that excitement about doing something that is going to last there forever. So
Yeah.
it's like using your skills. I call it mathematical skills and powers, using those powers to build something which will stay there forever.
Mm. No, that's brilliant. So for the 11 years that you worked in structural engineering and you graduated and then obviously entered the workspace. So how was that like? And I know that you've been like really active too, but like let's talk a little bit about the career aspect first before we move on to your other countless activities.
Yeah, so I worked on amazing, amazing projects. I mean, I've
Hmm.
done residential buildings. My expertise when I was in structures was tall buildings.
Hmm.
So I've designed from 4 story up to 42 stories, I would say. Um, and
Crazy.
so many buildings like residential,
Yeah.
commercial, hospital, refurbishment of train stations. So that variety in different types of buildings and
Hmm.
constantly learning um, something new. So
Yeah.
if I was doing a residential building nonstop for 11 years, I would have given up as well. So I'm the person
Yeah.
who, like I said, I have a very short attention span. I can't do something for too long. So
Yeah.
I kept on changing the type of buildings I was designing. And
Hmm.
I that variety got me excited about doing something new and building relationships and
Hmm.
coordination and getting to know what others do. We work very closely with architects, so it's having
Hmm.
those discussions about why can't you just have an unlimited open space with no columns there, right? That's the excitement, like those
Yeah.
conversations get you going, and then agreeing on a solution, and then you're like, yes, we have got to this end. And for me,
Yeah.
it's always been a tangible output, so then go to site and have a look at what you've done, uh,
Hmm.
see how it gets constructed, having those discussions with the contractors,
Hmm.
and when the project gets to site, it's very, very high pressure, so
Hmm.
it's that pressure that keeps you engaged.
Yeah.
And for me, it's like, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this, and then you get to a point you're like, yes, it's done.
And I can imagine like it must be a lot of pressure because at that point you're gonna have to make spontaneous decisions and really quickly coordinate with team members, but also just seeing something that was in your head a few months ago and now seeing it materialize one by one is just like must be an amazing feeling.
I have a brilliant feeling from the day I started working. Up to that point, I had never been to a site before. So when I first joined, so first week at work, my senior gave me something called capping beam to design. So it's basically you have something below the ground, but the entire building stands on top of it.
Okay.
On paper, it's a line, and that's what I drew. I did the calculations. I was like, this is how deep it will be.
Hmm.
The reality hit me when I went to site to see, and I realized how deep 1.8 meters is. So I was stood inside
Oh,
the cage of that beam, which I was
okay.
designing as a line on a paper. And
Yeah.
and that's the exciting part about it, because you
Hmm.
don't realize what you're doing in simple maths and on computer and everyday stuff. What does it actually look like? Is
Yeah.
the practical aspects of it. How do you connect everything together? I still remember another occasion when I went to site and listening to the contractors
Hmm.
and the labor complaining about the engineer who's done the detailing wrong because it's so difficult to fit. And I was like, whoopsie, not gonna tell
Oh,
them.
oh no. Yeah.
All of that comes with experience. And
Yeah.
you get that when you go and see the people and you're like, oh, that's why you're not supposed to do that. So
Mm.
that site experience was really interesting for me.
Yeah.
Sure, sure, they don't know.
But it's just crazy to me that one mistake, wrong sketch, and then there's this actual structure. It kind of reminds me of this cartoon where you draw something and it's actually coming alive over there, right?
Yeah.
And you also mentioned in a lot of your interviews that I saw that you mentioned there isn't an expectation of what engineering is like. So for anybody who wants to pursue civil and structural engineering, what would a day in your life look like? What would team activities look like? And what were the challenges? I'm sure that's like a lot I'm throwing at you, but you can take your time.
So starting with, there's an issue in UK, which is not a big issue in Pakistan, by the way, because I've seen the comparison.
Okay.
Uh, in UK, the title engineer is not protected, which means everyone calls themselves an engineer. If there's a printer guy who comes to fix the printer, they'll say they call themselves a printer engineer. If there's a boiler guy who comes to fix boiler, they call themselves engineers, which
Ah,
means if you go and tell someone you're an engineer, they're
mhm.
like, okay, like, really?
Yeah.
Why would you do that? So there is a misconception about what an engineer is. So
Mm,
that's why we go to schools quite a lot. So there's a lot of STEM engagement we do just to change that perception. And that's exactly why I had that perception, even though I've come from Pakistan, so I knew roughly what engineer is. But
yeah.
because I was a child at that point, I never paid attention to the ins and outs of it.
Mhm.
Engineering, in a practical sense, is actually, I would say, 95% desk job. You're using sophisticated tools, softwares, and you have the knowledge of codes inside out. So every country has their design codes. You use them to make sure that the buildings you're designing are safe. Day to day, you could be doing calculations. You spend a lot of time in meetings coordinating, and there are a lot of face-to-face time with the design team because you work with all different types of engineers to explain and understand why something can work, why it can't work. So you need to come to a decision together because what we call in the industry is a holistic design. A holistic design is something that needs to work together as one piece in the end. So it's not the best structural engineering design, it's not the best mechanical design or electrical design or architectural aspiration. It's
Mhm.
something that gives the best solution to the client in the end, and
Mhm.
that's what you have to come up with as a team. So it's
Yeah.
there's a lot of communication and coordination that you go through as an engineer. So sketching, so you need to communicate what you're thinking about in terms of
Mhm.
something that's a third person can look at and then say that makes sense, let's do
Yeah.
this. So it's a lot of decision making. um, Other than that, training younger
Yeah.
generation. So you have always have, so you're not all, you don't work alone. You work with everyone else. So you're training the next generation, you're explaining them how tools work. So there's a lot of engagement in that sense. Um, Meetings with the client, so you're representing the end product you will be delivering. So there's a lot of stakeholder engagement. Sometimes the clients would come and say, not happy with it. So how do you manage that
Yeah.
stakeholder? So it's
Yeah.
those type of skills. So a day can be different. So one day it could be like your heads down doing your calcs. Second day can be you need to get the models up and running because they need to make sense and give the numbers. Third, it could be you're talking to the CAD technicians to convert that into the drawings. Fourth,
Yeah.
it could be you're talking to the contractors, resolving the issues on site. So it's a lot of variety in engineering.
That sounds honestly brilliant. So my brother is a mechanical engineer, but I can honestly tell you I'm not sure what they do. I just don't, I can't grasp what the job involves and what the title involves. But hearing you say that, it sounds so exciting. Like every other day you're doing something new. And I can see why it kept you engaged for that long. And you told me that there's a lot of teamwork and communication. And I'm not sure if they teach you that in Leeds because I'm pretty sure there must be conflict. How do you decide on that with that while getting your point across without offending the other person? I'm pretty sure that's a skill a lot of us struggle with.
So that's something that wasn't in the university course when I was at uni. But
Mm.
since then, I have been part of a master's final year program that we run with the university. So we
Oh,
act as a
wow.
client and we give a brief to the students and we say,
Yeah.
we want you to design this. And then we mentor through the process and challenge the students quite a lot. So we're
Mm.
trying to change the curriculum to include that as part of to include the practical skills, and we force the structural engineers to come up with an architectural concept,
Yeah.
which by the way they hate because structural engineers are like, where's the process, where's the step, and architects are like let's go wild. So
Mm.
we are forcing them to think outside the box. We're
Mm.
forcing them to communicate. So it's a team working project.
Mm.
It's like we assign each team has one person from a different background in terms of what degree they're doing, which means they are working with people with different ideas and different concepts and different
That
directions.
can be so frustrating if it doesn't work out.
Yes, it falls apart at points as well. So we keep an eye on the teams which can't get along. So
Oh no.
and we, and we
Yeah.
say that these are the skills you're going to need in
Yeah.
work life. So
Yeah.
learn it.
Honestly, I still struggle with leadership and working as a team because sometimes the other person is not willing to listen to you. Sometimes you're trying to listen to everybody's ideas, but you're not sure what's the line between being too forward and being too relaxed. Like, what's the right balance? Have you
I
figured
would
out the
say
solution so far?
I would say the balance depends on the team, because
Mm,
if you have a group of people who are wanting to engage, then you don't need to become a strong leader in that team,
mm,
because everyone will come forward and they will play their part. Whereas if you are in a team where are people who don't want to be engaged, they want to relax, enjoy, then
mm,
you need to pick up that invisible whip, I would say, and say,
mm.
guys, we need to get this sorted somehow in the limited time we have. So,
Yeah.
what is the answer? And if you don't get an answer, then you say, this is what I'm proposing. How do you feel about it? So, you need to change your tone of leadership depending on the type of people you're interacting with.
Mm, yeah.
And I'm I'm still learning day to day.
Crazy.
You meet different people. Like the most difficult subject is not engineering. The most difficult subject is people.
Mm, yeah. I'm pretty sure clients must sometimes even be harder because they have
Yeah.
an image in their head, but sometimes they won't like it if it's true.
Yes. And
But
that's why
you,
you
yeah,
and that's why you need to take them along the journey.
yeah. Oh,
You need to say that this is what
yeah.
we are coming up with. Is that what you have in mind? Sometimes the clients know what they want. Sometimes they actually don't know what they want, but they will have an opinion once
Hmm.
they see something and they're like, no, this doesn't feel right. So
Yeah.
you need to take them through that process to say, this is what we're doing. What do you think about this? Is this in the direction where you want it to go, or do you want us to take a step back? And
Mm,
client changes come quite a lot. Like it's a very common thing. So that's another thing we throw during that university course, where like
mm.
halfway through the course, you know what? I have changed my mind. I actually want to do this. So
Okay.
it does put them in that situation. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't have time. How do I fix this now?
Yeah. And you just like have to listen to the clients till the end, or how do you
Yes.
navigate that?
Yes, because the client is going to pay for it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, so they could wake up and be like, "Oh, I know you're gonna start construction tomorrow, but I changed my mind."
Yes. Yes.
Wow. Wow. Oh
So
my
what can
God.
you do about this amazing concept I've got?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So as a person who likes order, that would drive me up a wall. I don't know how you guys do
You,
it.
I have learned it. So I am also a very process-oriented person. I
Mm,
have plans and actions and lists and everything, like spreadsheets for everything. But
yeah.
then thing you learn is at end of the day is the human interaction and the client relationships and relationships with your teams that gives you the success, not the spreadsheet or the to-do list.
Mm, yeah. That's brilliant. And the people you work with, because I know you said that it's possible to make mistakes. So do you have more structural engineers on board or more than two architects involved? how does that team composition look like to avoid
So
mistakes?
So every project has a junior staff,
Hmm.
someone who's doing the job, and then a reviewer, and then a approver. So it goes through a QA, quality assurance process for every
Hmm.
aspect of design, which means any possible human errors that could occur are
Hmm.
eliminated through that or identified through that. And
Hmm.
also the projects don't happen overnight. They take time. So if someone makes an error one day, they have time to process what's happened and then resolve it in the next few weeks or months before it gets like I would say a mistake becomes costly when it's already constructed. Fixing it
Hmm.
at that point is costly.
Yeah.
But if you're able to identify something that has slipped through the net, and you've spotted it, get it fixed before it gets constructed.
Hmm. Hmm.
Changing something on the drawing and the
Yeah.
calcs is not that costly, but
Hmm.
changing something, demolishing something and rebuilding is very, very, very costly.
I can imagine. A 42 story, like,
Yeah.
yeah. So what's the duration like for some of these buildings, and what's the longest?
So it varies depending on the type of construction as well. So I would say between, if it's a steel structure, it could be 1 year. If it's a concrete, it could be a couple of years. If it's massive, massive development, it could go up to 4 years, 5 years. It really depends on the scale of the project. I mean, I
Yeah.
was watching news about Sagrada Familia in Spain. Got completed. I
Mm.
mean, God knows how many hundreds of years it's been going on for. So
Oh,
it can go on forever.
yeah. Wow. I am developing a newfound appreciation for the buildings around me. I've never really like, I know I've thought about this design, but I've never thought about how many teams and how many people are collaborating and working together for that.
So what you see, if you see a building getting constructed, is already being developed in a virtual world for many years.
Mm-hmm.
So some of these projects can take up to 10 years. So sometimes the idea comes up at a very early. So client says, I want to do this.
Mm-hmm.
They do run it for, we have something called REBA stages of a project. So they go through the initial ideas of REBA 0, REBA 0, REBA 1, come up with a client brief, do the early sketches at REBA 2, develop the idea very high level, and then run out of money. They put it on the shelf.
Oh.
Few years down the line, they're like, okay, we need to pick up that project again. We've got some more funding. Do another couple of stages. Do REBA 3, REBA 4. If they have enough funding to take it through, they'll take it through. If not, they do REBA 3, REBA 4, designs complete, put it on shelf again. When the money comes, get it constructed. So it's not for every project, but sometimes it happens with the projects. I know there was a project I worked on, which people said it's been going on for 15 years, but it finally got constructed when I was working on it.
Oh my gosh. You were what's needed. It was waiting for you.
Yeah, it was waiting for me to do the
Yeah.
calcs.
Yeah. And what about the conflicts that arise? How do you navigate that professionally? Especially as a female, I feel like sometimes you're not sure how vocal to be, I guess.
I always say man up, but I've been told by a man to say woman up. So you need
Yeah,
to you need to find your
yeah.
voice. You need to have the confidence to be able to say, I have the skill set and the competence to be able to say
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying. And most of the times it's internal barriers. It's not something that someone else is saying, you're not allowed to have a voice. It's us. We're saying, can we actually say that? Is that stupid? So
Yeah.
this is what stops us, not someone else. So it's
Mm-hmm.
once we overcome that internal barrier, and also when you work in the industry for some time, you develop a reputation. If people know that they can trust your reputation and they can trust what your advice will be, they
Mm-hmm.
will ask you, what do you think about it?
Mm-hmm.
And in terms of the conflicts, yes, they arise quite a lot, and you need to deal with them very calmly, because when that happens, you need to understand perspectives of different people before you can put yours forward. Because
Mm-hmm.
if they are very strong about their opinion, they have a very good reason behind it as well. So you
Mm-hmm.
need to give them a chance to explain why they really think that's right before you
Mm.
put forward your idea to say, no, I disagree with you.
So
But you
listening to
need
people is key.
listening is a very good skill. I spend a lot of time listening rather than speaking
Mm. Feel
because
like
you
these
need
are
to
the skills.
digest.
Yeah, these
Mm.
are the skills that you aren't necessarily taught in university or courses, but I wish there was like a crash course that just put them in your brain. Yeah.
I think what we need is like something that um, not a crash course, but something like a very quick conversion of
Mm.
your education into the real life skills.
Yeah.
Like what we're doing with the University of Leeds course is type of it, but not exactly. It
Mm.
needs a lot more because what I have learned by working through my years is we did learn the technical skills, we learned about the theory. What we never learned about was the softer skills you need to be able to develop that confidence to put yourself forward. Um, the politics that happens in the background. When we are working with large groups of people, you need to learn to navigate through that. And
Mm.
that came with experience.
Mm. Yeah. So hard. If you could put that into words of like one thing that you would tell your earlier self, what would that be?
I would say be yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I have spent my earlier years hiding away.
Mm.
Um, what I mean by that is, and I'm not talking from the technical perspective point of view, I'm talking from the identity perspective point of view. So because I moved from Pakistan to UK, I I spent the first few years trying to blend in.
Mm.
I could feel that I didn't belong there. I was trying to learn a new
Yeah.
culture. I was trying to find my identity on top, a teenager. So it was a lot of complexities going on. So I spent a lot of years, like my A levels and first few years of university, trying to hide,
Mm.
try to blend in, try to become
Yeah.
like others. But then when I went to when I started working, I realized hiding is not going to get me anywhere.
Mm.
I need to be confident in myself because if I'm trying to become someone else, I'm never going to give my best. I'm only going to give my best version when I am myself and this
Mm.
is me. So
Yeah.
I mean, if you I don't know how much you've researched into me. If you see me, I am very boldly myself. I
Yes.
don't look like others. I dress however I want to,
Mm-hmm.
um, which means that I don't need to worry about that additional complexity of layering
Mm.
up. And then
Yeah.
I can focus on what I'm supposed to do, which is to deliver
Mm-hmm.
the best buildings.
Yeah. I respect that. Like, be yourself because everybody else is taken. Yeah. That's, I feel like a lot of us don't deal with that, especially since when you mentioned the inner voice telling us, can you do this? And I really resonated with that because in a lot of circumstances, when someone asks us for an opinion or we're supposed to do something, we add that voice of doubt. We're like, are we good enough to be doing this? Am I good enough to be giving them a right opinion? And I'm not sure if you've noticed, but that tone of doubt constantly pushes you down.
And I don't want to scare you, it never goes away. It
Oh
never
no.
goes away.
Oh,
So
that sucks.
no, but you need to learn to deal with
Yeah.
it.
Mm,
So you need to develop a mechanism, like a trick for yourself,
mm,
where you can tell yourself, you know what, don't be ridiculous.
yeah.
I doubt myself from time to time. I
Mm,
question myself from time to time. But
mm,
then I tell myself, look at everything else you've done. So if you can do that, you can do this as well. So
mm,
it is an internal conversation you need to have with yourself.
mm,
And it takes time. Like it's not something you can say tomorrow morning. Yes, you can set yourself anchors. Every
mm.
single time you find yourself in a position, you can say, you know what, if I see a door frame again, I will change my thought process.
Wow, that's
You
brilliant.
can put the
Yeah,
anchors, but it takes time to get into that habit.
yeah. So that's what you did. I see a door
Y-
frame. Get more
Anchors, so
soft
not
in yourself.
exactly door frame, but
Yeah.
I have different. things that remind me of how far I've come. I
Mm,
still struggle. There are days when I really, really struggle. And
yeah.
um, I mean, I have my own coping mechanism, but I look at my awards and I was like, if you can do that, you can do anything. So this
Yeah.
is like, just get over it. I was actually reading one of my university level courseworks the other day, and I'm like, how did I do that? Like, if I can do that, I can do
Yeah.
anything.
But
So
but you mentioned something like an accumulation of accomplishments, and I told you that I came from a failing background, and then I went into like a overachiever mode or whatever. But just knowing that background didn't help me whatsoever. It's only when I started LinkedIn or like putting those accomplishments out and I saw them written down, I was like, wait a second. I think maybe all of that wasn't luck, right? Maybe that hard work did pay off. Maybe I can do this other thing too, even though I didn't think I could. So that requires a certain set of accomplishments. What about people who don't have any at that point?
can I tell you a story from school days?
I would love it. I would love to hear.
When I was in class five,
Yeah.
and I'm talking about Pakistan, okay? When I was in class five, in a class of 30, my position was 28th.
Oh, oh my gosh.
When I was in class seven,
Yeah.
I got told off by the head teacher in school because I wasn't
Uh,
revising. And my mom had to go to school to tell my head teacher to shout at me so I will pick up the books and revise for the exams because I was going into metric next year.
oh no,
So
that's
you know
bad.
what?
Yeah.
So you know what?
Yeah.
You just need to give it time and find what you
Yeah.
really like to do, and you will
Mm,
find a path. So don't worry about where you've come from. When I
mm,
look at where I've come from, if I often speak to my friends from who knew me in school, and they're very surprised at how far I've come because I was a completely different person. I was a very shy girl who used to stay in the corner, no voice of my own. I used to mind my own business. I used to not be part of any, I still don't become part of any debates, by the way, because I don't see any
yeah.
point in that.
Yeah.
But I always used to be the last person. Like, no,
Mm,
I would rather be in my safe zone. And I'm different now. And
mm,
it's life experiences, it's what you want to get, it's when you find a purpose of what you want to achieve, and also what you want to do for others. It's like when you find that, that's a reason to get up. That's the reason to go and do what you really want to do.
yeah. And what is that purpose?
I want to leave my mark on cities around the world
Hmm.
and also leave mark on hearts around the world. And
Yeah.
what that means is, so in terms of cities, is the buildings I'm designing, whether that's as a structural engineer or now as a design manager.
Mm,
I'm working on major projects. These projects are going to change the societies. These are going to have positive impact on people's lives. I'm making a difference.
yeah.
And as for the hearts, I want to become a role model for that 16-year-old version of me who couldn't think of a future for herself. So I'm now becoming that person. I'm still not there. I'm still like, yes, the 16-year-old version will be very proud of how far I've come, but there's so much more that still needs to be done.
Yeah. And you just like, is this part of your work? Because I know apart from your work, you're leading workshops and you're also volunteering for interviews. And you mentioned some of the awards. So help us get into picture everything else you're doing apart from a full-time
So,
job, designing gigantic buildings.
so full-time job is the
Yeah.
job,
Mm-hmm.
even though it's actually a fun part. It's a fun job.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but I have always done some sort of extracurriculars on side, and I call them extracurriculars because they're always in my
Yeah.
personal time. So,
Yeah.
no other reason. So I am part of different institutions. I have always been I've been a STEM ambassador from
Mm-hmm.
even when I was a grad. Then I set up a network of graduates and engineers, graduates and apprentices within the business when I was still a grad or engineer at that point. And led that for 2 years. I took it from 4 people to 300 network in 2 years.
Wow.
From that, I moved on to another thing, which is still within the business, but that was looking at, I, I was part of something called Task Force, but that was
Mm,
looking at the business and any issues at the time. So we were given a topic, it's like, how do you solve this problem? And spent 2 years coming up with a solution and then implementing it.
mm,
So that gave me a lot of business and that type of skills. Then I focused on to different organizations. So I don't even remember how many I've been part of, but I'll take the ones I'm a part of now.
yeah.
So I'm part of Future of Greater Manchester. So I'm a board member for that. They are a non-profit organization which sits within the Greater Manchester region. So I live in Manchester, so that's the area, that's the focus. But they focus on the leadership training of the next generation. So any events that come through it in terms of the diverse voices, which is focusing on people from ethnic minority background and then helping them get that confidence and skill sets to come and raise their voices within the industry. Um, so I'm part of that. So that's where you will see me speaking at different events, type of thing. I do go to schools still from time to time to inspire the next generation. And I remember a very interesting story from it. Many years back, I did a video thing for CBBC. So that's the channel.
Mm,
And we went to a school and they gave different career cards to, it was five of us to all of us. And it had different career paths in it, including engineers. And
I
we went,
remember seeing that.
yes, I went to the class
Yeah.
um, and I raised that card, and I remember two specific reactions from it.
Mm,
Um, so the card I had, so I obviously I picked up the card for it. So before you show your card, you ask the
mm,
students, "What do you think my career is?" And
yeah.
all the students were like, "Oh, nanny, nanny," and I was like, "I am not a nanny."
No disrespect to nannies, but
No disrespect. I
yeah.
I can't take care of kids. Like at that point, like that was like I'm talking about like 10 years ago. I can't
Yeah.
take care of kids. What do you mean? Like not nanny. I can design buildings.
Oh no.
So when
Mm,
I said I'm an engineer, I had two very, very interesting point of views. And I'm talking about these primary school
yeah.
kids. The boy said, no ways you're an engineer. No way.
Yeah.
And the girl said, wow, can I be one?
Wow. Wow.
Exactly. So
Whoa.
I saw two different, and I realized at that point, even kids at that point already have a perception of what an engineer looks like. And
Mm,
they did not think it's someone like me. And I
mm.
remember telling them, hold on, I'm a pretty engineer. I'm not the one you see on Bob the Builder, okay? So,
Oh, I love your sense of humor.
so I remember that. I still remember that. It's been so many years. It's
Yeah.
because that's what made me realize it's not, because most of the times you go to schools at A levels, it's already too late.
Mm,
They are
mm,
building their perceptions very, very young. And I often challenge schools that it's not the children we need to engage with, it's the parents, because
oh.
they are
Mm,
getting those perceptions from home. It's the
mm,
parents. So I remember speaking to some GCSE students, some girls from Pakistani background. I asked them, what career options do you have, or what do you want to do? And the only thing they could think of was hairdressing.
oh.
And it hurted me a lot. It's like, come on, you have the potential to do so much in life and you're limiting it to hairdressing. And quite often, when we tell them to go and explore engineering, their parents tell them off. They say, no, it's not good for women to go into engineering. And that's what I want to challenge. Like, if I have come this far, I want to see more women coming into it. And I don't even say I want to see more women. I want to see more young people coming into it, both girls and boys. I want to see where their potential is and then use it.
Yeah.
Fine, some of the students might not have the skill set to do engineering. They might be the best hairdressers,
Yeah.
but then identify what that skill and potential is and follow that path, not because you have no other choice.
Mhm.
So
And I
yeah, so
feel
you
like
you can.
sometimes, yeah, sometimes parents protect or try to protect their children. I remember having a friend who was very passionate about rocks and wanted to pursue that field, but like her mom said that, it's going to be hard, it's a male-dominated field. I would rather you go into medical, and she went into medical. And I've never been in touch with her afterwards. But I wonder how many people we turn away who are curious about something and they could become trailblazers in those fields, but we turn them away for the fear of failure.
It's not the fear of failure, it's the fear of what will others say.
Yeah.
It's the
Mhm.
perceptions.
But
Uh,
essentially, things going wrong, right? Like once you're
yeah.
successful, people are gonna be like, "Wow, look at them!" Ask them how they did it. But before that, everybody's just gonna be afraid.
Yeah, but you don't have to be successful. You have to enjoy
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
You have to be able to do that for the rest of your life, and the life is long.
Mm, mm,
If you're doing something you hate, I mean, this friend who's been forced into going into medicine,
yeah.
are they going to give their best heart when they're treating patients?
Mm,
Probably not.
yeah.
They are doing their best, but their heart is
Mm,
somewhere else.
mm. And it's only so far you can take that. Like at one point, the influence from your teachers or your peers or your parents start to wear off, and then you're
Mhm.
questioning what I'm doing at this point.
And quite often it's the lack of education for the parents because they don't understand
Hmm.
what it actually means, and that's
Yeah.
why they push children into what they can recognize.
That's an important point. So how would you engage parents, both in Pakistan or the UK? Because it's
I
hard to get them on board.
In UK we do from time to time invite the parents to different STEM events just to
Mhm.
listen. So rather than
Mm,
talking to kids, talk to parents. Um, Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It is difficult to convince grown-up adults
mm,
about what something is. It's
yeah.
easier to change the minds when they're young. Um, but we try.
Mm.
We try
You
and
show
show them
them.
the option. We show them. So we go in, so
Mm,
we have the professionals go in and say, this is what we've done, this is what it takes. So it gives them a real life example
mhm.
of what it is. And we do quite a lot of spaghetti and marshmallow challenges for the
Oh,
kids
yeah.
to build something and then get the parents to join and stuff like that.
Oh. I imagine like soft spaghetti. I'm like, wait, what? But then I was
No,
like,
no,
it
no.
makes sense.
No, no, no. That's not gonna stand up.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it connects the children to their parents and also helps the parents see something else. And you're
Yeah.
right, parents do let students pick things that they're familiar with because that feels safe.
Mhm.
Yeah. I also wanted to ask, like, is there a certain point or maybe an influence from your mom or someone that kind of drove you to constantly try to leave this imprint on people's heart and be so involved in changing society for the better?
I would say my mom has spent a lot of time trying to give us the best lives and make us independent, and it's four of us. So
Mm,
she's made us independent people, and that was in her nature,
mm,
which means it has come down to us in our nature. So we want to
mm,
give something back. You can't just take everything from the world. You have to, it's a
mm,
cycle. If you
yeah.
take something, you have to give something back.
Mm.
And plus,
And
it's part of being a Muslim as well. Like you want
yeah,
to do something good.
yeah. So there's this book I read. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, Give and Take by Adam Grant.
No, I haven't. No.
So there's givers who keep on giving, there's takers, and there are matchers. So
Mhm.
which one do you think would be the most successful and the least successful,
I would say matchers. They're getting
right?
the best out of both.
The most successful?
Yeah.
And what about the least successful?
The takers, how much can they take? How far are they gonna
Yeah.
go with the taking?
So the givers are stuck in between, right?
Yeah.
but it's not true. Givers
Really?
are actually the most successful, according to the research and the case
Okay.
studies that they've looked at, and givers are also the least successful.
How?
Right? That's interesting. And that's why I kind of got hooked on the book and I've been telling people about it. But it's givers who value their own progress and their accomplishments, and at the same time helping others. They're the ones who make the most progress. So not turning into doormats who kind of let put everybody's request over their own, but
Hmm.
putting theirs first, and then in that time that they
Yeah.
have, bringing other people.
Hmm.
Yeah. And I think that's what
Interesting.
you're doing. So I feel like you're definitely a giver.
Probably.
Yeah.
I'll have to read the book to reflect on it.
Yeah, but so let's also talk about your career pivot because you mentioned that you went from structural engineering to now design directing.
Management, yeah.
Okay, so as you can see, what does a design manager do?
In very simple words, as structural engineer was the one building the bones in a body,
Yeah, yeah.
design manager is a glue. Um,
Oh.
so what design manager does is we sit along with the design team, which means
Mm-hmm.
working with structural, mechanical, electrical, architect, all different expertise,
Mm-hmm.
and then make sure that they are working together and communicating the challenges and the issues and everything at the right time so that the client would get the holistic design in the end. So it's
Yeah,
all about there's a massive challenge. It's very complex. So design managers normally get involved in the projects where you have more than a certain number of disciplines, and also where the delivery is complex, whether it's the process, whether it's the requirements, or client is difficult. So it's
yeah.
that type of aspects. So what we do as design managers is be that face of the team,
Mm-hmm.
um, interact with the client, engage with the client, get their requirements, lead the team to deliver the
Mm-hmm.
requirements, but then also work with the team to resolve all the issues. So by the time it gets back to the client is the final product.
Okay. So some of the frustrating parts of being a structural engineer, you took that and you turned that into a full-time position. Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
So I deal with the complexities and conflicts
Yeah.
day in, day out.
Yeah. And you started doing that after like 11 years of being a structural engineer. So what does that 11th year look like? What were your feelings at that point like? Because I'm pretty sure at any given point people feel stuck, but is that the time where they should like focus and start improving, or is that the time where they should pivot? How did you know it was
So
the latter, not the former?
for me, it was like I could feel a not a glass barrier. I always call it concrete barrier. So I
Mm.
could I could I could feel that couldn't I wasn't progressing a lot after that. So I got to a point where I was like, so not the barrier ceiling. Um, I got to a point where I was like, I'm working on more projects. I'm delivering complex projects as a structural engineer, but there's a feeling inside that I'm not
Yeah.
growing fast enough, or this grow. I wasn't fully satisfied, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
I would say love structural engineering to bits. Missed it so many times after leaving it as well. But
Mm.
the skill set I'm learning now, um, I didn't know whether I'm going to like it or not. I tried it.
Mhm.
I switched into design management to see whether I will like it or not.
Mhm.
And I have gotten into it. So hated it for a year, but kept on telling myself it's completely different. So you have to learn.
Mhm.
Now I've got used to it, and I have now started enjoying it as well.
You hated it
I
at
hated
one
it because
point.
let's say that I'm an omnivert, if you understand what that means.
Yeah.
So extroverts, introverts, I'm a 50-50.
Yeah.
I can be heads down, get my structural engineering calculations done, focus on my design, lock
Mhm.
myself in a room for days, probably months, get the things
Mhm.
done. I'm happy with that. If I have to go and interact with people, I can network, I can do engage with people, communicate, do all of my activities, but end of the day, I lose my energy and I crash. I
Um,
went from that into a role which requires constantly communicating with someone. I
yeah.
had headaches. I had
Mm,
physical headaches for 3 months. So,
oh
because
my
I was
God.
in meetings nonstop
Yeah.
talking,
Mm,
I am a listener, I was talking. So,
mm,
that's what I hated.
mm,
But now I have switched, I have learned to adapt. So, my body has changed. I can listen and talk now constantly.
mm,
So, that is what I absolutely hate. The second thing, I am a creative soul. That's why I went into engineering.
yeah.
When you go into design management, some part of that role requires process controlling,
Mm,
which means I'd also did the project management for a certain period of that when moving into design management. Absolutely hate project management, right? I can't cope with it.
uh-huh.
I can do it. I
Mm,
have learned the skills. Can't do it for the rest of my life. You know, when you know that what you can't do, I
yeah.
can't do project management for the rest of my life. I can do
Mm,
it from time on. So if there's a requirement to do something, I can do it quickly, go back to my role. What
mm,
I can do is a combination of the two, focusing on the design, but manage it, which is the design
mm,
management.
yeah.
So I am having the design, creative, solve the problem type of conversations, but I'm putting processes around it to say,
Yeah.
we need to do it in a way that we send a collective response back to the client, not everyone saying completely different things.
Mm, mm,
So that took time. That
yeah.
took time getting used to.
Yeah.
And now
And
I've
you
got to a
stuck with
point,
it.
yes,
How?
you you have to stick with it. If you
Yeah.
keep running from all the challenges in life, you're not going to get anywhere.
Mm,
If I had hated it for another 2 years, I would have left.
mm,
So you need to give yourself a certain amount of time.
yeah.
And then when you get used to it, then it becomes a skill. It's with
Mm,
everything in life. If you like I'm going to use the everyday example. You started dieting. You
mhm.
feel like you're dying. You give up,
Yeah.
right? You're not
Yeah.
going to lose weight.
Mm,
Simple. So you need to
yeah.
stick with it.
Yeah.
And that applies to every single thing. You're learning a new skill. You
Mm,
need to stick with it for a certain period of time for it to become a habit, for you to understand, for you to process that information, and then nothing comes overnight.
mm, mm,
And for me, it's like maybe I'm good at sticking at things. I mean, I always tell myself like I learned swimming very late in life. Like I've learned it 3, 4 years ago.
mhm,
The only reason I've learned is because I stuck with it.
yeah.
Drowned a few times, but I stuck with it. You know what I mean?
Oh no.
But it's something you need to, it's like, okay, fine.
Yeah.
If I don't learn it now, I will never learn it. And that's what you
Mm,
have to remember. It's
mm,
with anything in life. So for me, it was like, if nothing else works, if I absolutely hate it, at least I have learned some skills out of it.
that's very important.
And I can always go back to what I love, structural engineering.
Yeah. And consistency. I feel like at that point, I assume you were in the same organization, but you were
Yes.
shifting, and I'm not sure what that communication to your higher ups must have been like, because I'm like, I'm gonna try this new thing, and you absolutely hate it, but you know you're supposed to stick to it because you convince so many other people that you're making the shift, and just
I,
like staying to it. Oh, that's like commendable.
I'm a very visual person. I'm pretty sure they all knew I hated it.
Oh no.
From my facial
Okay.
expression. So
Yeah.
no, I would say it was a very good step I took
Mm,
because I have learned so much more
yeah.
since that change.
And was it
And
at the 1 year mark that you realized it was a good change?
2 years.
2 years. Wow.
1 year, I knew I have learned something new, but I was
Mhm.
still in that hate zone. So,
Fair.
but
So
two
everything
years,
you do takes time. Yeah.
it takes time.
Mm.
It takes time. You need to give yourself time to,
Hmm.
and what you have to tell yourself is, even if you don't get, even if you don't stick with it, even if you don't do that for the rest of your life, you are learning, you're growing, you're turning into a different person.
Yeah.
For me, it's all about I'm always looking for the next challenge. And I'm always looking for how do I grow next.
Mm.
And that growth mindset helps because if you're thinking about, I have come across some kids in school when I go to do these STEM engagement activities who come and bluntly ask, does engineering pay? And
Okay.
I'm like, no, it doesn't. Not as much as you want it to,
Yeah.
right? So if you're coming into the industry thinking,
Mm.
does it pay the most? Go and
Mm.
become a lawyer, go and do something else,
Yeah.
right? Because you're after money.
Mm.
You need to want to make a difference when you
Mm.
come into engineering. And I know
Yeah.
it's a different concept in Pakistan because in Pakistan you either do engineering or you do medicine or you do nothing, right? So
Yeah.
it's a different mindset. But over
Mm.
here, and I mean, I haven't been there, so I don't know if it's changed over the years,
Mm.
but it's still very engineering heavy over there.
Yeah.
And not everyone who's done engineering loves it, to be honest.
Yes.
They've done it for the sake of doing it.
Mm.
Now, it's very different over here. So you do engineering because you have a lot of options. You do engineering only because you want to make a difference.
Mm.
And that is what puts you in the right perspective of wanting to do it. And if you want to do something, if you want to make a difference, then you do give yourself time to get the right
Mm.
skills, get the right things to get to where you want to be.
Yeah. And it's also about consistency because even with hobbies, like once you start something, there's this excitement curve. And then once you reach the hard point, that's where everything drops. And that's where it's critical that you remain consistent and remember why you started it in the first place. I feel
Yeah.
like you have to keep on going to that. One other question that I want to ask, because we're about at the 1 hour mark,
Mhm.
is you spend a lot of time on LinkedIn too and networking and building up these organization or like extracurricular activities. Is there something that you would change if you went back to your first year as a working professional or would tell other people to do to increase their circle and the opportunities that you've gotten through such a wide circle?
So what I would different, what I would do different is
Yeah.
to build my personal brand a bit earlier because like I said, I tried hiding for first few years
Mm,
and then so I wasn't using it as actively as I do now.
mm,
Um, and one advice that what I would give to the younger people, I know there's so many of them who are not using it. Maybe LinkedIn is not that platform anymore. Maybe it's Instagram or somewhere else where the focus is changing because it's the next generation. They've got their own tools. But for me, I think you still need if it's not LinkedIn, something similar to LinkedIn, which
mm,
gives you that professional um, presence,
yeah,
which you do need, because we live in such a world that you need to have um, sort of an evidence of what
yeah,
you have done. If not for anything else, but to develop a network for yourself, to
mm,
um, I have spent a lot of time building my own personal brand.
mm,
Um, you will see that I have a consistent message because that is linked with my principles, who I am, what my identity
mm,
is, and that needs to be done earlier on.
mm,
So if I had done that earlier on, I don't know where I would be now.
yeah,
I'm so that does help. And
mm.
also I know a lot of young people are hesitant about building networks.
It's scary.
It is scary, but
Yeah.
it's very important.
And putting yourself out there while feeling like you're showing off, but I mean, it's
Everyone
essential.
does that.
Yeah.
My question is,
Mm.
do you feel that as a woman? Do you feel that as a Muslim? Do you feel that as a human?
As a
Because
human.
no, I can bet is as a
Yeah.
woman and a
Mm.
Muslim. Because I know I have come across men, and I'm not talking about a blanket comment here, but I have come across men who show a lot more confidence compared to women. They
Mm.
very openly go for, I mean, there's some research, and I'm not going to remember whose research it is now,
Yeah.
who say that if there is a job application
Hmm.
and women can do 94% of it and can't do 6% of it, they don't apply
Mm.
for it.
Mm.
Whereas men can do 50% of it. They will very confidently apply for it and get the job and
Yeah.
learn rest other 50% on the job. So
Mm.
that plays so basically as a woman, as a Muslim woman, we have these added layers of complexity on top.
Yeah.
We make it difficult for ourselves.
Mm.
So we need to peel off those layers
Yeah.
and we need to look at ourselves as just like I am a structural engineer and a design manager. I'm a professional. Let's communicate at
Mm.
that level. And what are you afraid of?
Yeah.
I know I'm not saying that it's not difficult to speak to new people. It's scary.
Mm.
It is very scary. But once you get over it, you will start to develop relationships. Next time you go to a networking event, you will meet
Mm.
those people you introduced yourself to first time, which means you already have allies there. You know
Yeah.
people there,
Yeah.
and you need to develop that network.
Mm. Is there
And
something, yeah, sorry.
no, no, go for it.
I just want to ask, is there something you do on LinkedIn? Because you mentioned that you network with people. Is there a certain way you do it? And what kind of opportunities has that brought to you?
LinkedIn got me my first job. So,
Oh, okay, hands down.
so um, I graduated just after recession,
Mm.
which means there were not many jobs around in the area where I was living in. So I was doing a lot of online engagement with different people, networking, just sending messages to say, hi, this is me. I'm a graduate engineer, blah, 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 blah. I have done this, this, this. Um,
Uh-huh.
it's scary.
Yeah,
Sometimes I see people who do it very well because I receive a
yeah,
lot of messages. Sometimes I'm like, this is a bit too much, like calm it down slightly.
yeah.
But sometimes you have to send those messages.
Mm.
And but I wasn't sending them to random people. I was sending them to people who I could see that I have something in common with.
Mm.
Industry like structural engineering was a common point for me. Asking questions, how would you do this?
Yeah.
And that got me. So I took part in the IStructies, which is Institution of Structural Engineers, international design competition at that time, and I was in university, so for my final year project as well. I designed a I took that brief for the competition and I used that for my dissertation because by that time I was like, I'm going to design everything, like I don't want to do anything else.
Yeah.
Um, and I designed a city of sun and wind. And it was the most ridiculous idea, like a 640 meters tower in the middle of the city
Wow.
using the CSP technology, creating the solar and power wind.
Wow.
And I put molten salt at top of a 600-meter high tower. It will burn and kill everyone if I do that now. So, so no sense of health and
Oh,
safety at that point
yeah.
as a lack of experience. But I did that. And because I did that and I won the undergraduate category for that, I shared that on LinkedIn. And someone else who had won another category for the iStructy saw my name and this
Yeah.
sent me a message saying, "Do you want to come in for an interview?" And
Yeah.
I was like, yeah. So that's how I got my first job.
Wow. So that's Miss Najwa here is proof. People get on LinkedIn.
Get on LinkedIn
Yeah.
and use it. Don't just have an empty profile which says nothing because I see so many people who just have, it's not Facebook, it's not Instagram. Don't just sit there
Yeah.
and watch others. Use it, you know?
Yeah. I tell people that for me, it's been a year that I've been actively on LinkedIn, and this podcast series started as a result of that, and so many other opportunities, and it just like excites me so much to now get like an hour to talk to these amazing women and share that out with the world. Um, and to wrap up the interview now, and I've had like such amazing conversations and learned a lot. Is there something you wanted to mention or talk about that we haven't covered?
Just one thing that be bold. I mean, a lot of find your passion and be bold is the only thing I will say. And when I say
Mhm.
passion, it doesn't have to be the most exciting thing, just anything that you can love and do for your
Yeah.
life.
Mm, I love that. Thank you so much.
Yes.
It was amazing. Thank you for spending your Saturday with me.
No, thank you very much for inviting me. I've
Yeah,
really enjoyed the conversation.
yeah.